Welcome back to our Puredata tutorial. So in last week, we have completed one exercise. We take care of the video image from your webcam, and then we do a very simple background removal of the live image by using the Pix background command. And in this week, we'll continue with the exercise by adding in something we call the blob tracking, and make use of this blob tracking to play around with your webcam as an input device. So we can go back to this particular exercise and have a look at the overall effect. So in the screen, you see the overall webcam image, and I can escape from the camera and then do a reset of the empty background. So after that, we can adjust the slider bar, which is the threshold value. You can remove the background image and only reveal those parts which is different from the original background once you enter or press the reset key. So the next step is we'll introduce one more command after the Pix background. So this is the blob tracking mechanism we are going to investigate. So the name of this object is Pix blocks. Is also under the family of the pixel command. And if you take a look at the help information, it comes with a number of parameters. The first of all is the video image and also the inlet and outlets around here. And the second one is the essential one we're going to use, is the type of color you would like to track in order to make sense of the blob. And we can have a selection of grayscale, red, green, blue, or alpha channels. So usually in this situation, we'll make use of the grayscale or the alpha because all of them will be the same. And the rest of the parameter, the essential part, will be the outlet. So the second, third, and the last outlet, which denotes the x coordinates, y coordinates, and also the size of the block. And the definition of the block is the overall color information, which is trying to group them into one single block of pixels. And the X and Y will indicate the center of gravity of that particular groups of pixels, whereas the size will indicate the bounding box size of that particular image. So we can have a look by taking a step-by-step approach to put in all those parameters. So the second inlet will be the color mode selection, which I mentioned that I'll use the grayscale as a primary way to detect the color block. And the rest of the parameter will be the outlet, that is the X, Y, and also the size. In a lot of cases, we'll make use of the X and Y coordinates to indicate the location of the movement of that particular color block, which indicate, for example, a person or an object which is moving across the background. So we'll have a look at that change in the number value once you initiate this particular patch. So again, I will disappear from the background and then press the reset key. And after that, I will appear in front of the webcam and adjust a little bit of the slider to indicate the foreground and background image. And you can have a look of the change in those values, indicating the X, Y, and the size of that particular color block. So actually, if I, for example, move sideways, you can have a look of the change in those X number. So if I move towards the right hand side of the camera view, this is on the right edge, you'll see the number which indicates a larger value closer to 1. So if I move back to the center, it's roughly around 0.5. And if I move further towards the left edge, the value will decrease up to around close to 0. So this is the interpretation of the X value. And again, you can also weigh, for example, your arm to indicate the change in Y value, the higher one and the lower one. So towards the bottom margin, you can see a higher value close to 1 of the Y value, which is indicated by the second number box, and the upper one, the upper margin, which indicates a smaller number in the Y value of the second outlet. So the third one will mainly the size of the color block, which is the foreground image on top of the background. So that's the basic interpretation of those color value. So after we obtain these two numbers, so the next step is how we can make sense of the two of them. So the next part is I'm going to introduce one more gemhead. And you can also take a note that the gemhead objects around here, I put a number behind the gemhead. And this number indicates some sort of layer options. You can have a look of the help. So by default, this number is 50. This is the default depth of that particular graphical objects under this gemhead value. So if you put in a number which is larger than 50, for example, like 55 around here, so it indicates another graphic which will appear on top of the original, which is the default 50. So we can use this number to determine or try to set the layer depth of different graphical objects. So the second object I'm going to create is a very simple rectangular image, and I'll use it as a way to monitor the tracking command. So this is a rectangle. We try to follow the movement of the user in front of the webcam. So I will use a depth value of 55. And then in order to change the position of the rectangle, I will use a translate command right here. And the next one will be just a very simple rectangle command with a smaller size. So the step will be how we can relate, for example, this X value around here, which is indicated by the place block command, and feed it back to the translate X command over here, such that it will have a very tight coupling effect. That means the rectangle will actually follow the movement of the user. So in order to achieve this one, we need to understand the relationship between the two number system. First of all is the coordinate system across the screen. And the second number system will be this number ranging from 0 to 1, which indicate the width of the window. So if we take a look at the coordinate, so at this point we can see that white square, which is the new graphical objects on top of the original video image. So this is the indication of the 0 position as notated here. So if I change this number, so closer to the number 5, it will arrive as mostly towards the rightmost margins of this window. And if we take a look of the dimension of the rectangle we used to contain the full screen video in this particular gem window, which is indicated by the dimension 800 by 600. So this area or this particular margin was indicated by this sequence number 5.33. So it's actually the number which is along the right edge. So if I shift click or shift drag this one to a number around 5.33, so you can see the center of this particular square will arrive at the rightmost image, the right margin of the image. So if I do it in the opposite direction, and then decrease this number a little bit. So once it go to the negative 5.33, so again the center will arrive at the leftmost margin of the overall window. So we can more or less conclude by this experiment that the range of the window will be around negative 5.33 to positive 5.33. So this is kind of consistent with the dimension of the rectangle. We use a 4:3 aspect ratio. So in order to come up with this number, we need to perform some sort of calculation. So the calculation is actually we convert this number, which ranges from 0 to 1, to another set of number which ranges from minus 5.33 to positive 5.33. So this is a kind of direct proportion. So first of all, we have the range 0 to 1, and we need to enlarge it by using a multiplication of the range, which is 10.66, which is double this particular number. So after we have this multiplication, we have a range which is between 0 and 10.66. And in order to convert it into a negative and positive range, we do another calculation, which is a minus command. And this number will divide this original range 0 to 10.66 into 2 halves. So that is the minus and also the positive half. So and then we can connect the two sets of number from here to this one. And with the hope that the position of the white square will follow some sort of movement which is indicated in the live video. So again, I will move away from the screen to a reset and then have a look of the movement of the white square on top of the live video. So I come back to this particular position and try to move around in front of the camera. And at the same time, you can have a look of this number, which is this particular number. After the calculation, it converts to the x-coordinate of the white square. And because this particular command, the block command, is actually denoting the center of gravity of the whole color blocks. So essentially, it would not easily follow, for example, your fingertip or your palm. If you are just waving your fingers or hands, it will follow actually the whole body as in groups of pixels, which is different from the original background image. So this is the idea and also the technique. We try to do something called blob tracking by making use of background subtraction. So one of those applications is you can have a very clear background and you do a reset of your background image, and afterward you have your objects or your user appear in front of the background, and you can make use of this command to indicate the movement of those objects on top of the live video.